Now this norm, in fact, did exist in history. It's not a myth. Dom Donner, in his work about Gregorian chant, talks frequently about all sorts of congregations all over Europe who knew all the mass settings by heart. And even in this country, you can go to parishes like St. Agnes, where Monsignor Schuler was pastor for years, and hear all the people sing all the parts. In my own parish now, we have people singing the ordinary chants of the Mass. It's not an unknown ideal, so this was not a far-flung hope. There was an authorization for vernacular. Precisely how that was going to be applied was never entirely clear at the council. How it came to be applied, I think, was rather unfortunate. But that was the goal. The goal was to get rid of the problem of the pervasiveness of the low mass with vernacular hymnody, replace that vernacular hymnody with music from the chant tradition. It most likely be in Latin, since of course Gregorian chant is music in Latin. When you see the word Gregorian chant, it is necessarily in Latin. Or if it's drawn from the Gregorian tradition and in English, then you can say that it's inspired by the Gregorian tradition. So the people that sing Gregorian chant are music that is inspired by Gregorian chant, and the priests would sing its parts, and the scholas would begin to develop, and everything would be put together. Well, in short, this is as I look at the outline of this model, this is exactly what I think all of us should today be aspiring to achieve in our parishes. This is a beautiful ideal. And whether that's in the ordinary form or the extraordinary form, this vision is precisely what we need to look to. So you see how an agenda that just looks towards replacing goofy songs with four-square traditional songs doesn't quite get us to the high ambitions of the Second Vatican Council. I would like to address this issue of style, because quite often the debates in our parishes are really about what kind of music you want, and what kind of music do the people want in the parishes. And I really think this is not the right way to think about the issue at all. In fact, I think if the issue is framed in those terms, we will definitely lose the debate. And that's not because people don't want Gregorian chant. I think it's because Gregorian chant is not structured to be the kind of music that is, except for a handful of us that drive around listening to this stuff in our cars, and I'm one of them. I have it on my iPhone, I listen to it all the time, but I'm not usual. Most people don't think of Gregorian chant as popular music. It's not the kind of music you listen to in your regular life. It's the kind of music you listen to and experience at church, because it sounds like church and it feels like church. So if you rephrase the question, what kind of music belongs to church, you're going to get a very different answer from what kind of music you want to listen to on the radio. You see the difference between these questions. And too often these debates in our parishes don't consider that these are really two very different issues. So it's really not about democracy. It's not really a debate about style. And nor am I saying that what we need is an immediate imposition of Gregorian chant in all of our parishes. That's a very bad idea. What we need is a new understanding of the purpose of sacred music. And I can put it very plainly. Sacred music, the music of the Mass, is not supposed to be external to the Mass. It's not supposed to be just an add-on, or a band that plays at a wedding, or you have somebody over for dinner. What kind of music should we play? And there's a debate: what kind of person are we having over? Well, is he like Broadway music? Does he like rock and roll? Does he like Vivaldi? What does he like? That's not the framework in which we're discussing music at Mass. The only question is, what kind of music does the Mass itself call for? Not what we want, but what does the Mass itself call for? And there's really only one answer to that, and that is the music of the Roman Rite itself. And if you look at the whole repertoire of Gregorian chant, that's what it is. It's a striking thing to discover this, because I've worked with many musicians who are working in parishes today, and you explain to them, you present Gregorian chant, what they're expecting is a series of small pieces that they think I'm advocating they sing instead of the hymns that they're singing now, as replacements for the hymns they're singing now. Alternative forms of hymns in a language they don't understand and with melodies they don't know. So yeah, that's a loser, right? That's a hard sell. But once they understand that that the music of the Mass is, the Gregorian chant is in fact embedded as part of the liturgical structure, everything begins to change. Oh, this is the music I'm supposed to be singing, because look, it's set up and entrenched as a part of the rite. So on any individual day, you have particular propers that apply to that day. And you have a certain number of Mass ordinary settings for the ordinary chants that you can sing throughout the year. Some are typically used and sometimes and other times. And the information about what we believe as Christians is conveyed and embedded in that music itself. Which you discover as a person who sings Gregorian chant every single week. You'll be singing along a chant and discover something phenomenal about the liturgical spirit. And William Mart likes to give this example. On Easter morning, the introit for Easter is not the Gregorian equivalent of Jesus Christ, who's born today, or whatever that song is that we all sing with tubas and trumpets and all the rest of that stuff. It's actually very calm music. I believe it's in mode 1. It starts very, it's awesome music. It's mysterious and strange and almost alarming with its intensity. And you learn from that music that the spirit of Easter morning is not one of untrammeled celebration with Easter bunnies and colored eggs. It's a sense almost of being awestruck, almost terrified at the fact that this man who was crucified is risen from the dead. I mean, you don't just immediately throw the party and pop the champagne corks. I mean, the first response is, this is astonishing. Nothing will ever be the same. And how do you act under those cases? Well, the music tells us how to act. It conveys information about the liturgical structure. I find that this is true in chant after chant after chant, that you discover information about stories that Christ told, like the parables. There's one chant that discusses the merchant who buys and sells pearls. You know, he buys low and he sells high, right? And then finally he finds one pearl that's so valuable he sells everything. Right through the melody. Goes really low. That's the way it ends. Because he's found the thing that he wanted more than anything else. But if you look at the way the chant is structured, it's an interesting story to me, because this guy is a merchant. But if you look at the picture of the chant itself, you discover that every time it refers to the pearls or the margaritas, the line goes way down, like he's diving. So that's how you get pearls, right? You dive down, and you get the pearl and you bring it back up again. There's 2 references to the pearls, and each time he's diving down and bringing it back up again. Now, I love this imagery because now here you have a guy who's buying low and selling high, but also that's how you get a pearl. You dive down and you bring it back up again. And all that information is conveyed in the music itself, in the music. And it's not necessarily information that occurs to you if you're just reading the parable. So you learn about Christian teaching by singing the chants and by listening to the chant.